Namaskar. I welcome to my channel GST Samvad. I am Advocate Abhay Kolte. Last time we have started the discussions regarding the RCM, that is reverse charge mechanism, as is provided under the Goods and Services Tax Law, the Act. That time I have stated that the subject is quite comprehensive, quite lengthy. So therefore I will be splitting the discussions in two parts. So last time we have covered the first part, that was covering the conceptual background and the idea behind the RCM. Now in today's part, that's the second part, we are going to discuss a bit procedural aspect and some details regarding the provisions of law, so that there will be a better understanding of the RCM scheme. Now, as you are aware that RCM is a technique or a procedure provided under the Act wherein the supplier is, though liable, technically speaking, liable to pay the tax, the liability is shifted to the receiver, that is the buyer, and the buyer is required to pay the tax to the government. So this is the basic concept of the RCM. Now the RCM concept, as I said last time, is not a new concept. It was carried out and carried on from the era of service tax. In service tax also, prior to introduction of GST, RCM was in existence. The same concept is now shifted to GST. Now up till 1st February 2019, that you are aware that the GST came into force on 1st of July 2017. So up to February 2019, the RCM was applicable to all supplies received by a registered person from an unregistered person. All supplies were included, goods and services, everything. But with effect from 1st February 2019, there was an amendment, that was a major amendment, that only a specified category of goods and services were covered under the RCM, not all. Now this was done on the recommendation of the, obviously, GST Council. Now Council has recommended that instead of providing RCM for everything, all goods and services, it should be limited to specified goods and services only. So the amendment was carried out. However, that provision was kept in abeyance for the period, this is important, for the period 13th of October 2017 to 30th September of 2019. The provision of all goods and services, etc., that was kept in abeyance during this period 13th October 17 to 30th September 2019. Now, as of now, after the amendments and counter amendments and all these notifications were issued, now today the position is that the RCM is applicable only to the specified category of services and goods. Now, there are certain general provisions of RCM which I hope or I think that everybody should know the background. Now, firstly, the provisions of Section 2, subsection 6, that it says aggregate turnover. Now, when you calculate the aggregate turnover of any enterprises, that turnover, aggregate turnover, excludes the supplies made under the RCM. So while calculating that aggregate turnover, you should keep this in mind. Now there is Section 12 into bracket 3, that is subsection 3 of Section 12, which provides the time of supply of goods. This is important for the purpose of valuation and liability of tax. That we will discuss when that particular topic we will be discussing. But for the time being, just keep in mind the time of supply for goods as well as for services are different. Now, so far as the goods are concerned, the time of supply is the earliest of the following three things. Earliest of. What are the things? Number one, the date of receipt of the goods, or the date of payment for the goods, or 30 days from the date of invoice. Any of these, earliest of these three, is taken as a time of supply of goods. Now, secondly, section 13 into bracket 3, that is subsection 3 of section 13, which provides a time of supply for services. Now, again here, it says the earliest of the following three things. Number one, date of payment of the for the purpose of service, whatever service is provided, the date of the payment. Number two, 60 days from the date of invoice. Or third, date of invoice by recipient, where it is required to be issued by the recipient. Now there are some cases where the invoice is required to be issued by the recipient. Now in that case, the date of issue of invoice by the recipient is the relevant date. Now any three are these, any one which is the earliest is taken as a time of supply of services. Now there is a provision of section 38 into bracket 2, that is subsection 2 of section 38, which relates to the returns of the goods or services supplied under RCM. Now this is because it is related to return based provisions. I would not like to go into detail of that. That is a very procedural matter. Secondly, there is one more important thing, is that supposing if a person is engaged in any business and he is not liable to be registered for his business, whatever business he is carried out. Now, for that carrying out of that business, he is not required to register. Okay, that is one thing. But if he is receiving any goods or services from some unregistered dealer, in that case, it is compulsory for him to get registered under the Act. So even though his business may not be required to be registered, because he is receiving goods or services from unregistered dealers, he is required to get registered. Now once he is required to get registered, the consequences follow that he will have to file the returns and adhere to the other procedural goods background or procedural thing of the Act. Now there is one more provision, that is the receiver, the person who is receiving the goods or services, is required to issue invoice within 30 days of the receipt from the unregistered dealer. Now that is section 31 into bracket 3F, that is clause F of subsection 3 of section 31, which provide that in respect of the goods, the invoice is required to be issued by the receiver. Now there is another provision, section 3, subsection 3 of section 31, clause G, which says while making payment, the payment voucher is required to be issued by the dealer. Now these are some procedural basic requirement of working under RCM. But the next main question that arises, which everybody is concerned of, and many people ask me that from where we will get the information. Now for that purpose, there are 4 important notifications. As we said earlier, that after the amendment in 2019, only the specified goods and services are required to be covered under RCM. RCM is not applicable to all goods and services. RCM is applicable only to specified goods and services. Now where to find that? Now as I always say, that for this purpose you will be required to read the notifications. Now, as I always say in my earlier episodes, also you will find I find most of my viewers are young professionals or students, and mostly the professionals who have just entered into the practice. I always tell all of them, even the experienced person like me also or lesser than me, you must read. So long as you are reading yourself, you will not understand the law properly. Basically, any taxation law, not only GST, any taxation law, unless you yourself read and understand or try to understand, you will not understand it completely. So, therefore, my advice is that you are required to read it. Please get catch hold of the latest copy of the notification as amended up to date and read it. Now, for RCM on goods, there are two notifications. One is 4 oblique 2017 CT into bracket rate. That CT means central tax. Now there is another notification that is 4 oblique 2017 IT into bracket rate. IT means integrated tax. Both are dated 20th of June 2017. Now they are subject to amendment from time to time. So that's why I said that catch hold of the latest amended notification, amended copy of the notification, and see that which are the goods covered in that. Now presently, mainly, I will just for your convenience, I will just mention some of the goods, which is cashew nuts. Now BD leaves, that is popularly or commonly known as tendu leaves, which is in Maharashtra, it's called as tendu leaves. The leaves of the tendu, the tobacco is filled at and then that leaf is coiled. After coiling it is wrapped with the thread and the BD is made. So the tendu leaves, the tobacco leaves, now essential oils, silk yarn, raw cotton, lottery, used vehicles, and metal scrap. Now, metal scrap particularly, you have to carefully see the chapter heading number of the scrap because all scrap is not covered. Only the specified metal scrap is covered in that particular notification. So these two notifications are in respect of goods. So kindly refer to those notifications and you have to keep watch on that notification. I mean the amendments, whatever amendments are coming in, you have to keep a track on the amendments and see that whether you are liable to pay tax on RCM basis. Now, so far as the RCM on services is concerned, this is a very vast field. So many services are covered. I will not take your time or spend much of the time on this particular aspect. Mainly, popularly popularly understood, the GTA services, that the Good Transport Agency services, and the advocate and tribunal services. These are very popular form of RCM. So, being myself an advocate, I have come across by so many queries on this particular aspect. But there are so many other services, I will not take much of the time on that. So kindly refer to those notifications. The notifications are again two here. First is 13 oblique 2017 CT, that is central tax into bracket rate. That is obviously related to central tax. And another is 10 oblique 2007, that is IT. 10 oblique 2007 IT, that is integrated tax into bracket rate. Both are dated 20th of June 2017. So these two notifications relate to services for which the supply is made, the GST is to be paid on RCM basis. So kindly go through those notifications and find out which are the services and whether you are required to pay the tax on RCM basis for those services. So I hope you have enjoyed or like this video. So if you find it useful, my request is to please like it, share it and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.